Hello and welcome to From the BLM, the Burnley podcast. This is the immediate post-match debrief of West Brom 0, Burnley 0. Sky announced at the end of the game that it was the most predictable result of the week, and I think it probably is. And hopefully a few Burnley fans have made a few quid out of lumping on 0-0. But it could have been so much different if the referee and linesman hadn't conspired to rob the Clarets of a probably deserved victory by disallowing a Jadon Anthony goal midway through the second half. I'm Andrew Greaves, alongside me, full pod squad: Simon Evans, Justin Connolly, Chris Borden and Paul Woodhouse. Justin, let's start with you because you were a bit...
Oh, why?
You were a bit negative, I think, on Sunday when me and Woody were trying to be positive after the defeat at Millwall. Was it any better for you tonight?
I don't think so. I mean, I suppose it was faintly a little bit more positive in the sense I think Sarmiento brought a bit more forward momentum to the play, but it didn't really result in much. I mean, he had that chance, didn't he, that he missed. I mean, let's be honest. We're talking now about 10 minutes after the final whistle, and I'm really struggling to remember anything at all about the game, apart from the two sort of incidents that, you know, you've spoken about and I've just mentioned. I just thought it was a really low quality game between two really low quality teams. Not, you know, the referee's performance was perhaps even worse than the performance of the two sides involved. And it's another 2 hours of my life that I'm never going to see again.
Woody, you were Mr. Optimistic and Mr. Positive, uncharacteristically so on Sunday. Give us a saving grace here, mate. Come on.
Well,
it wasn't that bad, was it?
I'm going to be even more positive.
I
think, no, not at all. I was wasting 2 hours beforehand, I can tell you. But if you look at it as a response to the Millwall game and what's been going on recently, it was definitely, you know, a dial or two up on the shitometer or whatever we're calling it. I thought there was some, I mean, again, it was a lot crisper. There was better movement. I thought Sarmiento up front added that little bit of creativity that we've been talking about, because he can obviously, the ball at his feet, he can turn, you know, that
he can turn.
one-on-one that he missed. I think, like you said, Simon, earlier on, it could have quite easily have been 2-0 and been quite comfortable, because that was an atrocious goal to get choked off. But I thought in passages in the second half, we were dinking it around quite nicely. And I must admit, it's one of those, though. It's like we say, well, that's an improvement, but you want to see, you know, the dial going up another 2 or 3 to be a vast improvement on, you know, on Sunday again. And we want to see this move on into something better, because, as we'll probably talk about a little bit later, this is shaping up to be a relatively poor division. And there are no great sides that we are seeing, and we want to start seeing, you know, a Burnley side that's markedly improved. We don't want to see another drop off like we seem to be seeing every other week, kind of thing. So, you know, yeah, I'd probably give it a C+, almost a B.
C+, almost a B. Chris, a much more positive starting lineup on paper, weren't it? Dropping a kind of central midfielder. I think we'd complained quite a bit that all the midfielders, you know, as well as being all cold, Josh, were all pretty similar, and we wanted to see something. I mean, it's a bit difficult when you've not got much on offer up front. You've still got to play Fleming in that number 9 or 9.5 role. But Sarmiento did bring a little bit of extra kind of fluidity, didn't he, in the kind of final third, and it it felt more positive, first 15 minutes. I know West Brom kind of came back into it, but I'd say perhaps on the balance of play, we're probably the better side overall, would you say?
Yeah, it wasn't a particularly high bar on the night, but I think we were the better side. But you can see with Parker, if he leaves, if he plays Perez rather than Humphrey at left fullback, you're thinking, yeah, well, we're going to be a bit more attack minded. And I thought Perez was one of our better attacking players. I mean, he's hit the post, decent effort with his right foot first half. He's overlapping to Koleos, who again frustrated the life out of me. And I thought Cullen was better. The way he distributed the ball. He sort of sat in a pocket of space, and West Brom never really sort of shut him down. And it was better. It was Sarmiento, as I said, manipulates the ball better than anyone, in the club at the moment. The way he drives you forward. But again, you look at it. Fleming's got to score first half, but it's a ball in from Perez. The second chance for Sarmiento's come from an error. It's not like we're playing through teams. And the goal itself's a nonsense, isn't it? I think Anthony, if you're putting your hands in the back of a defender, I mean, you're going to accept that as soft as it is in this day and age, if you put your hands in their back and they take advantage and go over, you think, fine, okay, that's the way the game is. He's touched him. He hasn't pushed him. And Styles does the old Aaron Ramsey star jump, and the referee falls for it, up line and sinker. I can't even get angry about it because the standard of refereeing, we talk about the standard of quality in the league, the standard of refereeing. If you see Bristol City's goal at Preston at the weekend, where he punches it away from the goalkeeper, it's just laughable. There's the Emil Reese's goal against us that's chalked off when his shadow's onside. Never mind him. It's just garbage, and it just leaves me. My overriding feeling, it might have been slightly improved, but my overriding feeling was we are not going to score, and that's all I get at the moment watching Burnley, or Burnley nil as I'm christening them. It just makes me. I just yearn for the days, and I sort of take this out on both teams because I thought West Brom were as insipid as I've ever seen a West Brom team. The days of someone like a Robbie Blake or a Glenn Little, or someone who had a bit of skill, a bit of trickery, and was positive and tried to take defenders on. It's a revelation. In this robotic modern football where people are petrified of giving the ball away in case some team counters on them. It's mind-numbing to watch the quality of football, and it's going to drive people away from the game. It's awful. And I think Sky commentator said at one stage, it's like basketball. Well, it is. It's non-contact. If you touch anyone, it's a foul. And again, that's another thing that's going to kill people's enjoyment of the game. There's no physicality whatsoever anymore. No craft, no quality, no physicality. It's rubbish.
I mean, Simon, we spent most of last year going, I just don't want to be in the Premier League anymore because it's shite. Are we now saying we don't want to be in the Championship because it's shite? Are we to give League One a try next season? But,
this was supposed to be the fun, wasn't it? That was what everyone said. Oh, it's loads more fun in the Championship. Anything can happen. There's goals galore. There's stuff going on. You can win most of your games. There's no VAR. There's hardly any incidents that VAR wouldn't be getting involved in off these games anyway. Hopefully they've had a look at that ludicrously disallowed goal, but I don't know. To be honest, you're looking at the performance, I agree with most of what's been said, but the one thing that really stands out, and it should be kind of obvious when you're struggling to score goals, the little moment that really caught my eye was that glancing header from Josh Cullen inside the box. It goes to the back post. There's no one there, but there's Zion Fleming watching the situation and goes the wrong way, doesn't anticipate the glancing header, and goes into the middle of a sort of crowded.
He dropped off, didn't he? He almost dropped the penalty spot, didn't he? Yeah.
And you think Andy Payton's sliding in at the back post and scoring that, that kind of goal poaching striker would have anticipated that. And we're playing without a centre forward, really, aren't we? I mean, we've seen enough of Fleming in that role now to see that he's filling in at centre forward. Would Jay Rodriguez have got that one in? Well, he'd have had the instinct. Whether he'd have been able to get there and slide in or not, I think he probably would, to be honest. And I think that's something that's got to be looked at possibly for Sunday, is to try playing with a centre forward. Try playing Fleming in the position where, he made his impression at Millwall and got his deal and everything. Because it's just... there were the odd ball in. Collie Oshaw was extremely frustrated, as Chris said. A lot of things didn't work for him. He did give the ball away a fair bit, but he got in 2 or 3 good crosses as well. But we're just not dangerous from those crosses, are we? And it's the same with the little balls that Anthony's dinked in. So that's got to be addressed. I mean, it's, either Foster comes back and it works, but he wasn't doing that kind of thing either, was he? When he was in the team, he wasn't being in the right position at the right time. And those are the sort of games we could have easily won it 2-0. But you don't win them 2-0 if you don't have somebody who can just get in there and make turn a chance in. So it's frustrating at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah. Interestingly, Justin, I was watching Monday Night Football, the build-up to Monday Night Football, and they had Dimitar Berbatov on. And they were talking about kind of, I think it was like Brentford and Palace both scoring from outside the box and some of their play outside the box. And he was kind of like, look, I wasn't great outside the box. I was that person who get the ball in the box. And you don't really see many of those kind of strikers about nowadays, do you? Because of this, this Guardiola, style of they played without a proper striker for quite a while. It's almost like every team is like, well, we don't really need an old-fashioned, number 9 like a Payton or a Berbatov or someone who's going to get, a bit scruffy in 6-yard box. It is really frustrating, though, isn't it, when you just kind of go, it was glaringly obvious kind of at the back end of last season and beyond that we didn't have that player who was going to, be the fox in the box, for want of a better phrase. And we kind of, I know we were forced into quite a lot of changes, but that striker is possibly the one thing that's going to scupper our chances of going up this season, isn't it? Because if you think about some of the stuff that we do, it's just crying out for somebody with a little bit of better instinct, isn't it?
Tonight, yeah, maybe that's true, but I don't think that's been true in the previous games. I think we've really failed to create opportunities for a striker like that, like the kind of player that you're talking about. Was it Mickey Quinn who used to talk about being the fastest player in the world over a yard? That's what you're talking about.
Apart from when his brother-in-law was stabbing him in the arse with a screwdriver, obviously.
Perhaps not that day. But that you're talking about that instinct to be able to get in front of that defender on the near post, or like Simon says, coming in on the back post, I mean, tonight that happened, but it's not happened enough over the last few games. I really think that's the biggest problem. It's the positivity, isn't it? It's the having a go. It's the not. And there was a bit more of having a go tonight, which resulted in us getting into some positions, and perhaps the fact that we haven't been making those chances means that the players aren't going, into those areas because they don't think the ball's going to come to them. The number 9.
What you're saying is we improved to a level where we discovered another weakness in our team.
That's one way of putting it, I suppose. But what I'm trying to say is, I think, the strikers feed on the confidence of putting those chances away. And when you've had game after game after game after game of running that line and making those runs and the ball's not there, when you get a game when it does happen, you can be forgiven for being sat on your heels a little bit because, that's the first time it's happened in a few games. But I take your point. I don't think Fleming is a number 9. And his success at Millwall has come in a different position to that. And like you say, Foster, when he has played, has not found himself in those positions. But I don't think we were creating the chances for him either. We're not playing. There's so many players in the side whose strengths we're not playing to, and I think, all that. It still feels a little bit like we're not that far away from clicking. And if we can, it's not going to change overnight, is it? We're not suddenly going to thrash somebody 5-0. But if tonight was a little bit better, we want to see, I think it was Woody who said, I want to see it go on. We've got to build on this now. We can't go backwards. We've got to carry on doing what we've done tonight, but do it better and be just a bit more positive, especially on Sunday when we're going to be at home. That would be a good gauge of whether things are changing, of whether we are making progress or not. It felt a little bit like we were tonight. We've not won the game, but it felt like we were a bit more positive. But, we scored a perfectly good goal. We'll see how we get on at home on Sunday, whether we can turn those little opportunities into something a bit more.
Yeah. And Woody, I mean, Scott Parker made a big thing of the kind of defensive side of things in the build-up, as well as one or two other choice comments about having players who want to play for really want to put the shirt on. I think the club capped up really in the story just to ram it home. And I think they missed out the bit where he said you couldn't have said that several weeks ago. But again, defensively, I mean... The James Trafford's had nothing to do. I think CJ Egan-Riley got the Man of the Match award from Sky, at least, from Don Goodman. That is a really solid... Is this the most frustrating thing, that defensively we don't really look like conceding? Yet up top, when you kind of go... most teams have kind of killed for the amount of clean sheets that we've had this season, and that solid defensive base, albeit with a bit of a makeshift back four most weeks. Humphreys filling in at left back. CJ Egan-Riley probably would not be first choice centre half under most other circumstances. And is the biggest frustration that actually then going forward, when you've got such a solid base at the back, we just, we're huffing and puffing and not blowing any houses down.
I think also as well that we've played with too many defensive-minded players. Obviously, Humphreys is a little bit more defensive-minded than Perez, and like Bod said, having Perez in the side, being able to overlap, join up, etc. Yes, he still did that thing where he doesn't know whether to go to his man or cover him, and winds up doing that, and the bloke goes airing down the right hand side. But I think not only are we defensively solid enough, the attacks and the sides that we're playing against aren't that we've seen so far haven't been that threatening. Boring maybe leads a little bit, but then again, we shut those guys out. So it's like you just like a little bit more of a balance, because I don't think Roberts isn't tearing up any trees, is he? He seems to be off a yard off, to put it mildly. So to have that, additional Perez threat down the left makes us a little bit more attacking. So I think it's just mainly tweaks as much as anything, but it's nice to have that solidity at the back. And yet again, Trafford hasn't had a save to make, has he? No. No wonder when the ball comes anywhere near him, he starts flapping. He only saves one every 3 games at this rate, and I don't think that's necessarily testimony to how good we are as a defensive unit. I think it's as much, some of the sides that we're playing against as well.
Yeah, definitely. And Chris, I mean, again, I think, it was revealed we spend about 85% of training most weeks working in the final third. It's got to come good at some point, hasn't it? You'd think, and, you'd think kind of teams at some point where, we're going to come across a team at some point who's not going to be quite as, I don't know, like teams have set up like Millwall. There's going to be chinks in the armour. Whether that's Swansea on Sunday, I don't know, because they're on a not too bad run themselves. But is it possible that you can train too much and you can over-egg the pudding so much that actually when it comes to match day, you kind of lose your way a little bit because you've spent so much of the previous week working on these things?
No, if you're drilling things down, that's the whole idea of it. Repetition, it becomes natural. It's second nature, doesn't it? It's defensively, like what do you say? It's not an issue, and it's not necessarily because we are, the ultimately drilled, well organised back four. I think sides are bloody woeful at this level. I think Millwall did to Leeds what they did to us at the weekend, apparently. And it seems there's a lot of teams who are very, very easy to work out, with us being one of them. And it's got to work. You've got to be sort of drilling those little patterns of play. Third man runs, creativity. Looking for sort of that inventive pass, and they were trying. There was a couple of little breaks that final pass from Anthony was wasn't quite good enough on a couple of occasions, but the intent was there, which was better. But to me, I don't see anything improving until we go back to it again. Lord Luke and Trezor, Nathan Redmond and Aaron Ramsey and Benson. I think when those four are fully fit and available, I think we'll see an upturn in that side of things. But you got to carry on with for now. You got to carry on with Sarmiento playing where he played tonight. I think he's as good as anyone available at the moment at moving the ball quickly. In those areas, it didn't quite happen for him, but he showed his reel again before the game, and he could just work a bit of space. He's got a super right foot. I mean, he's tried to be a bit clever tonight and thread it through the keeper's legs, maybe, when he should just put his foot through the back of the thing. But I think it'd be nice to see him get a settled run in the side, as Scott Parker alluded to before the game.
Yeah, and Simon, I mean, we've talked a few times kind of on the WhatsApp group and privately about how poor the Championship is. I mean, it really, really is a poor division. I know the commentators on Sky were quite diplomatic when they said, anything can happen, and they would talk about West Brom losing the playoffs and the year after usually going up, and despite them being seventh going into today's game, they rather diplomatically said that perhaps the top end quality's not there this year. I mean, it's absolute dog shit, isn't it? If we're being really honest, the Championship this year, no matter how many montages Sky show with evocative commentary and balls hitting back of the nets, there's nobody really outside of Sunderland who look any great shakes, is there?
No one you're afraid of. I mean, the fact that we've played a defence that as we've said all along has been fairly makeshift to us. It seemed like, with the amount of defenders that we have injured, when you consider all the players that left, and then the ones who were long term, Ekdals and Bayer and so on, Delcroix and Egan Riley, who none of us would have been surprised if he'd have gone out on loan to a Scottish club again or been moved on. And he's looking comfortable because they're all playing as this kind of football where they're trying to play football the right way, and it's because coaches are incentivized to do this now, because nobody wants to hire a manager whose teams are based on the reputation of being physical, direct, effective, and all those things. They have to be playing the right way, in inverted commas. And so every manager wants to do it. I mean, that West Brom manager, Carlos Colleran, he was being tipped with for all kinds of jobs, weren't he? Including Burnley on a couple of occasions, I think. So they get it. But you watch West Brom, the way they try to play proper football, and they can't do it. They can't do it. And as Chris said, they're not taking risks, but also that sort of physical element that was always there in the Championship of a Mitrovic type centre forward or somebody, and that those teams that whip in balls from wide to a target man and play with two strikers, one of whom's going up for the header and the other one looking for the knockdown. All those kind of things that have been part of Championship football have gone. They've completely gone because everybody's trying to play football the right way. And it's got to stop, really, and it's not just the Championship either. If you go and watch League One, until I moved back over here, I used to go and watch Stanley fairly regularly. And even teams like that were playing it out from the keeper and messing around and trying. It's comical at times because they'll play like 5 or 6 passes across the penalty area and then hoof it anyway. So, but they're all trying to do it, and it's because all these managers and coaches are trying to follow that. Well, whether it's Guardiola or somebody else, But if you look at the top end of the Premier League, they play at pace, don't they, as well? They play, there is a physical side to it. Liverpool aren't, fanning around with it all the time. They're looking to get the ball to Salah and get at people as well, and under Klopp and Slot. And it's just, I agree with Chris. It is killing the game. I think no one who was watching that game tonight, if they weren't a West Brom or a Burnley fan, and there's companies around the world paying millions for the rights to broadcast these games, no one who wasn't a Burnley or a West Brom fan would have watched that to the end. They wouldn't. Why would you? If you didn't care on the outcome of that game, what possible entertainment or interest was there? Whereas I remember, not so long ago, you'd tune in a Championship game, and maybe it'd be talk 4 or 5 years ago, a team like Norwich or somebody, they'd be playing nice football or whatever. They'd be a bit shaky at the back, they'd overcommit, and they'd maybe win 4-2, or there were always those sort of games in the Championship, crazy scores and stuff. And at the moment, it's just everybody's trying to play the same way with players who aren't good enough to do it.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, just one point on Mike Trezor. I saw one wag on Up the Clarets saying that he thinks this may be the reason that the facial recognition technology has been brought in, so we can actually find out where Mike Trezor
is. Definitely. There was an interesting picture of Alan Pace posted a picture of the whole squad and the whole staff together down at the training ground, and I zoomed in on Mike Trezor's face, and he looks like he has the worst resting bitch face ever. I don't think we should read too much into him looking unhappy, because he genuinely, when they catch him off guard in training, he always looks to have a smile on his face, but has to pause for a picture. He looks like his mum's just told him he's going to have to tidy his room before he can go out and see his friends. It's very kind of very strange.
Well, so it reminds me. If you always remember Aaron Lennon, was it when he signed for Everton,
yes.
and he just a miserable, and he's one of the smiliest, happiest, guys. You'd always see him with a smile on his face around Burnley. But I don't know if you saw, Stockport got walloped the other night by Wickham at home. And they gave a man of the, as every club would do, they gave the home man of the match award out. And the picture of the Stockport player is absolutely beaming. And he was just saying, he said, I smile for every photograph. I said, I was just, I knew the sponsor or whatever it was. And, he said, I wasn't deriding the fans and mocking the result. You've got to cover every, it's just PR everywhere you turn, is it? You're not allowed to do this if you've lost. You're not allowed to do that. You can't celebrate if you've won, and you can't sulk if you've lost, and you can't.
Could get back to complaining about over celebrating our victories. That'd be good, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't it? Just
that seems so long ago now, doesn't it?
I'd take a goal.
Have we won since then?
I don't think we have we?
Karma.
I've had a birthday.
It cursed it.
Yeah. Let's look ahead then to Sunday. I mean, we're going to do it all over again on Sunday at the Turf. He's really kind of throwing me these kind of midweek fixtures and then Sunday fixtures. But Justin, I mean, we keep saying it, another chance to get things right. They just feel like there's extra pressure at home, though, doesn't there, in terms of, expectations. The vast majority, the majority of the crowd is the home support. I mean, any positives from tonight, we kind of need, we need to see that early doors on Sunday against Swansea, don't we, to try and give the crowd a bit of a lift. And, I guess it's a bit egg and chicken, what comes first, the support or the performances. But how do you see Sunday's game going? Another cagey affair, or, are we perhaps seeing this new lineup from tonight kind of, excite us a bit on Sunday?
Excite us a bit. I don't know if we. I don't think we've seen the potential for that quite yet, have we? I think it's going to be interesting because I think we're on a bit of a line now, aren't we? Where the fans are getting quite frustrated with the way things are panning out. We talked a bit about this sort of sense of entitlement that we've apparently got about how we should be doing a lot better than we are. But I think it's true that we should be performing better than we are. I don't think it's, like I said last week, I don't think it's anything to do with a sense of entitlement. I think it's just we expect better from this team. It's not that long ago. It's the blink of an eye, really, since we could call ourselves an established Premier League team. And I don't think we can't really call ourselves that anymore, can we? So despite some highs over the last couple of years, we've had some lows as well, and you know, this season could go either way really from this point on. So I think early on we do need to show a little bit of intent just to get the fans back on side, because I do think that level of frustration is reaching the point now where it could turn, you know, nasty quite quickly at home. It's different away, isn't it? You know, when you're away, it's kind of like you've got to be happy with a point away from home, and but at home, I think when we're in this kind of situation, I always think there's a little bit of Burnley fans just do this little thing where they sort of cross their arms and go like, "Come on, then." You know, show me you're actually better than I think you are. It's kind of that attitude, isn't it? And if it doesn't happen, you know, things can turn. So, but you know, there's a little bit of potential in what we saw tonight. It was a terrible game. I didn't enjoy watching it. There was very little entertainment in it for me, but there were signs, I think, of it being a little bit different to what we've been seeing. And that's what I want to see. I want to see something different. I want to see a bit of progress being made. So hopefully we can continue that at home. If they do show that little bit more intent, I'm sure everyone will get behind them rather than, you know, getting on top of them. So, you know, I think that the first sort of half hour of the game on Sunday is going to be vital, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And Woody, I mean, it is. We've talked about how close division is. I think somebody mentioned it on comms tonight that there's. I think West Brom. I think it was. They're only 7 points off third from bottom Plymouth or something like that. I can't actually remember the exact stat, but you know the championship is close. Millwall, sorry, yeah, Millwall. We don't need much to put a run together. I know, again, the international break's probably coming at either the right time from an injury point of view, but the wrong time if we build some momentum on Sunday. But the whole championship picture changes in the blink of an eye, doesn't it? When one team kind of gets a couple of wins together, or a team loses two on the bounce, or a team goes from winning games to drawing games. It's still that kind of early season. Nothing's settled yet, is it?
No. You're exactly right, and I think weirdly, if we play something similar to tonight at home, I think we get a better response. I think we'd feed off it slightly better, you know, because especially like the first 10 or 15. What do we have? 4 or 5 corners. We kind of went at them, and we were direct, and we got in amongst it, and that's the kind of thing that we do like at home, don't we? As long as we're getting in that final third and we're looking like we're threatening, then that'll uncross the arms a little bit. And I think that's as much as they want to see. If we're progressive, looking like we want to win, and we put in the shift in, then I think they'll get the response from the crowd, and I think that should be enough, hopefully, to do something against Swansea, even though they've had 2 good results, haven't they, in the last 2 games. But I think we could just sneak. I think we could just sneak a win come Sunday.
Chris, do you share Woody's optimism? Sneak a win, kickstart the season, go into an international break on a bit of a high?
Well, we'll no doubt have sort of 65-70% of the ball, and we'll probe, and we might have a couple of shots. We might have a chance, and it's down to it's the feel of the game. I mean, I don't remember a game recently where I felt, you know, it's coming.
Excited.
We're going to score. Yeah. Well, yeah, that as well. It's you can have a good start, but it's got to be, you've got to profit from that good start. And when that goal doesn't come, everyone sort of sinks back into that, oh, here we go again sort of thing. And they've got to start aggressively. They've got to be out of the trap. I said it, first 10, 15 minutes was fine tonight. So, forcing West Brom back. But again, corners, we don't look like we're going to score from a corner anyway. So what's the point winning 4 corners in the first 10 minutes? It's exasperating at the moment. I'm just pinning my hopes on it. I think I didn't see the quotes before the game, but Sky was saying it. Corberan felt that we're one of the best 3 squads in the league, And you'd have to agree, but I was still preying on those who aren't, who are believed to be on the brink of return, and hoping they can sort of really shake things up and give us that bit of extra quality, that match-winning quality that we thought Sarmiento had that. He scores the goal against Portsmouth, and you're thinking, great, that's what he can offer us, and we've not seen enough of it since. I do think Anthony's a talent. I think he's a bit timid, but I was speaking to a Leeds fan today, and he's saying that he works hard against the ball. He tracks back. He's diligent, and he has got ability. It's just, I don't know what it is with it. Whether he just needs that bit of belief. I mean, there was an opening tonight where you're thinking he's just going to break through and slot one away like he did at Sheffield Wednesday. Defender gets a bit of a block in. Koleosho again. He's got. We all know he's got quality. He's devastating on his day, but we haven't really seen that since the first 2 or 3 games of the season. And it's nice to see Parker sort of I will change. I'll swap sides and I'll
listening to our advice.
Obviously,
it was quite fluid, wasn't it? I mean, Anthony was almost playing. He was running onto a Fleming flick on for that opening I was talking about, and Sarmiento was right, and then Sarmiento was off the front. So just a bit of fluidity. The intent was there tonight. The execution wasn't. We need to see the execution at the weekend.
Yeah, definitely. And Simon, end us on a high. I mean, Chris has just talked of all fart and no shite, essentially. There, how are you going to end this podcast on a high? Because we need a bit of positivity. We've drawn 0-0.
Just leave it at that.
We would have probably taken a 0-0 draw, clean sheet, another point had we been on a better run. But in the context of the last few games, it feels like a disappointment, especially given the disallowed goal. But Jerry's final thoughts. What you're going to tell us to keep these fans who listen to us week in, week out positive ahead of Sunday?
Confidence in it. I think there's a lot of what Chris has just talked about there is just a little bit of lack of confidence in some of these players. You can see it with Koleosho's body language a bit. You can perhaps see confidence as an explanation for why Anthony's being as timid as he has been. And I think, one of those games like we had against Cardiff where they make a couple of early mistakes and give us something, and suddenly that can all change, can't it? Even if we haven't opened them up, if they just, a missed kick and somebody runs through and scores. I really would like to see J-Rod play at the weekend. I think I'm going to, push for that one until we start scoring some goals, because, if all we're missing is somebody inside the box who can put the ball in the back of the net, then I'm not interested in how much legs he's got for tracking back. I'm not interested in coming in and playing that deep role that he's played a few times over the last couple of years. Give Jay the chance to just be in the box and work on the flicks, get on the end of crosses. He can do all that. He can put an header in. He get on the end of a cross at the back post. We've got him there. He's got bags of experience. Get him in there and give them wingers somebody to aim for as well. And then we can whip a few crosses in. We can mix it up a little bit more. So I really think it's time for J-Rod to return. I think if he does, we'll get some goals, and it could really give the rest of the team some confidence.
Oh man, I'm looking forward to this game now.
This is it, isn't it? What a rousing speech that was there. That was, so we know Scott Parker listens. He must do. He's kind of been copying some of our suggestions over the last couple of weeks. So hopefully he's going to be listening on his way into Gawthorpe tomorrow morning. I'm sure he's a subscriber. Let's leave it there then. So disappointing night, but progress. A little bit of progress, a little bit of spark, a little bit of something for us to hang his hat on. We'll be back on Monday after the Swansea game. Hopefully you'll enjoy your weekend, enjoy the match on Sunday. And until then, up the Clarets.